Welcome to Conversations with Laurel, everyone. I am your host, Laurel McCargue, and I'm doing something very different today. Today, I have a guest with me. His name is Tony, and I don't even know his last name.
Oh,
Tony,
really?
Tony, welcome to Conversations with Laurel. What's your last name?
It's Getzel. Um,
Getzel. All right. I let's see. I met you. I haven't even met you. Today is our first meeting. We were introduced by another person I don't even know that well. I met at the Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers Conference a few years ago. And he discovered that I write horror. And I guess he knows you, right? Austin? Austin McKay?
yes, he's a member of my writing group. Actually, no, sorry. I thought I could adjust that.
That's okay.
Yes, yes. He's in Mile High Writers Workshop with me. Um, and he's presenting a radio drama that he's been working on there. Um, so we see each other every now and then,
Okay.
and evaluate each other's work along with the rest of the group. Um, yeah, and we were talking after one I presented 2 weeks ago. He really enjoyed it, and he said he knew another flash fiction writer. He enjoyed your talk at Rocky Mountain, and he put us in touch.
Yeah, yeah. I got the email and I'm like, oh my gosh, another potential horror writer. And so I just decided without even, and so let me ask you this one question. I have no questions prepared, but here's one. Do you remember your nighttime dreams?
Sometimes, so I do morning pages. I'm not sure if you're familiar
Yes,
with
I'm
that part.
familiar with them. Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
explain to people who may not be familiar with them what morning pages are.
So Julia Cameron has a book that's called The Artist's Way, and that helps people thrive in a creative practice or begin one in the first place.
Yeah,
And one of the regular activities is morning pages. First thing, right away, you have a notebook, you fill 3 pages in the notebook, whatever comes into your head, no censorship, no one's going to read it, not even you. Um, and just whatever, anything that pops up into your head, even I'm hungry, I want breakfast now, I need a cup of coffee. So sometimes my dreams end up in there, especially if they're really weird.
okay, all right. Really weird dreams are something I've had since I was a child, and so I guess I was destined ultimately to write bizarre, weird, troubling stories. So let me just say that I woke up this morning from a very stressful dream in which I was supposed to meet you at a dance at West Point, which is my alma mater, United States Military Academy. And I couldn't find all the parts of my uniform. And so I was struggling to figure out how I was going to get my uniform on. Now, this is after I had saved someone from water, some kind of water thing. She was drowning, and I saved her. Have no idea what that has anything to do with, but yeah, and then I didn't know how I was going to meet you in the mess hall. And I remember you coming in, and it wasn't you because I hadn't even seen you before. I didn't even know who you were, but you were on crutches. Don't read anything into that. And then I was just stressed because I wasn't ready. My hair wasn't ready. Anyway, stress dreams. So
Oh,
I think we all have them, and we could make something absolutely horrible about it. But I know that that stress dream was because this is just a conversation that I'm having with you because you aren't published, right? And typically I interview published authors, but I really want to have more conversations with people like you. As you said, unpublished authors are legion. So,
yes.
so, so there you go. That you just were a victim of my dream last night or this morning.
No, it seems to reflect reality very well. I mean, there's a degree of, like you said earlier, uncomfortable lack of preparation. I'm not really an online presence. We've only just met.
Yeah.
Um, didn't know my last name, so there's there's some worry that goes into that. That makes sense. Synchronicity seems to be a friend of people who read and write a lot. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, who are you? Who are you, Tony?
right out the gate. Let's see, the whole life story or just who I am now?
Who are you now?
Who am I now? I
Yeah.
am a stay-at-home parent. I have 2 children. James is 8 years old. Elena is 5 years old. Um, My wife, Emily, is a physician, primary care physician, and that's who they are. And I
Yeah.
am an English major, just undergrad from the University of Iowa.
Okay. Good
Um,
school.
yeah, good school. It really comes down to last weekend, some people heard I was from Iowa and they're like, oh, wow, you got the best education for writing. And it always depends on the teachers you have. They were
Yes.
getting down on their own school, saying, oh, I only went to New Mexico. And well, it seems like you had good teachers.
Yeah.
You know, they had some brilliant insights. Um, so anyway, I tend to get off topic. Um, and I've been attempting this writing thing off and on for 20 years, because 2005 is 20 years ago now. Um, had an encouraging high school teacher, English teacher, which I'm aware, yeah, shout out to English teachers. Thank you
Yeah.
for your service, both in the military and as a teacher. So she encouraged me. I went to school to read and write, and then just fits and starts since then. Um, I would have periods of productivity and submitting things, and then them getting rejected and um, deciding to take a break for a while, and then and on like that for the many years that followed. Ever since I started the Artist's Way this July, it seems to be a more resilient, sustainable practice now. Um, Even
Okay.
in the past week, I've submitted to 3 publications. So I think transitioning to that next step.
All right. So, talk a little bit about the Artist's Way.
So that's like I said, Julia Cameron's the author. It's kind of, and you can correct me at any point, but I kind of describe it as a boot camp for a creative practice. And she says that it's not just for painters, writers, sculptors, filmmakers. It's even for people who are bankers, engineers, anything that can unlock creativity in a person, because that is an essential part of them that sometimes gets smothered through schooling or practicality. Um, you don't make much money for the most part being a creative person,
Right.
but it can still enrich your daily life. Some of these attorneys would go home and paint and feel more fulfilled. So it scratches that itch for a person. So she encourages that. Each chapter is a week that you have homework assignments to do things that are kind of offbeat. Go to a place that you find inspiring that you've never been to before, say a thrift shop, and just pick through knickknacks, take one home, put it in a prominent place, write affirmations for yourself, the morning pages, like we were talking about. Um, and every week there's an artist date that she talks about where you go somewhere for 20 minutes by yourself and just gather inspiration. So I've been doing that sort of thing, make a collage that was way outside my comfort zone. And I put that off for 2 weeks, but it was immensely rewarding when it was done. Um, yeah, even after the first 2 days of doing the practice, I had been blocked up for several months and not even going to writing group where Austin is. Um, but I went right away after 2 days of the morning pages. So,
That's
yeah,
incredible. That's amazing. And I love that. I love the idea of finding inspiration in mundane things. Like you said, going to the thrift shop, finding
yeah,
something, bringing it home, looking at it, wondering where it came from, what was its purpose, what might you do with it? What do you do with it after you write about it? Is it something you're going to keep and cherish? Is it something you're going to throw away? Is it something you're going to give to somebody? Regift. White
right.
elephant.
Put it in a story, paint it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that. And again, people always ask, where do you get your inspiration? And I have to say, for my dark and weird, bizarre muses, which I really didn't know I had for a while, the NYC Midnight Challenges.
Oh yeah.
somehow release those. And you're familiar with those?
Oh, absolutely. This year is the first year I've been doing them. They're remarkable.
They are. And so for those who might not know about them, nycmidnight.com, I'll have a link below. They have challenges all year long. Everything from microfiction, like a 100-word short story, to short story length, 2,500 words, whatever, flash fiction, 1,000 words, on midnight New York time on a Friday night. Once you sign up for it, and there's a fee, there's a slight fee, anywhere from 29 to maybe $49. At midnight on Friday night, you get a genre, a maybe an object or maybe a character, maybe a place. You get three things that you then need to work into a story. And oftentimes there are genres, you might never have worked in. And because of that, your brain has to struggle, right? You kind of like going to the thrift shop and finding something. What am I going to do with this? Right? Well,
Exactly.
open your mind up to it. And so what I would typically do is I would read my three prompts. I would go to sleep. I would let my crazy dream mind work on it. Sometimes I would immediately have an answer of what I was going to do. Oh, I could do a story about this. And and my suggestion would be that you automatically discount those because if it comes to you very easily, I think maybe it might come to other people very easily. And you want to do something unusual. So typically my brain, noodles on it overnight and I'll wake up and I'll start something. And oh my gosh, they're fun. You get incredible feedback from three different readers that you don't know, and things that they like about what you did, and things that they think could be improved. And sometimes you make it in the top winners or whatever, and you go on to the next one. And in any case, it definitely exercises your creative muses. So, how many have you done?
So I'm actually wondering, are you doing it this year?
You know what? I took this year off because I am on my final edits of my latest novel, 2183. And I'm putting chapters up on my Substack, by the way. I just decided I have to get this out. It's been 5 years in the process. I took this year off from any other distractions, but so no. So tell
That's
me about
kind
what
of
you're
early.
doing.
I was worried we'd be competing with each other. Yeah, the my first one was mid-August. That was the 500 word flex fiction. And miraculously, I made it to round two, given that particular weekend's constraints.
That's awesome.
It was the one weekend where I was going to be out of town. In the car all day Friday is 8 to 9 hour drive, and then in the car all day Sunday. So I only had a handful of hours that evening, like first draft to
The
polish,
final. Yeah.
and I made it by the skin of my teeth into round two, and that finished a couple weeks ago. So I'm still waiting to hear about that.
Okay.
That one I'm more confident about because I had time on that idea. I did the rhyming story the
Okay.
first week of September.
Yeah.
I'd been practicing a lot from previous year's prompts, um, and setting that 48-hour time limit. That was
Without
invigorating.
submitting? Without submitting or just practicing?
Yeah, just practicing by
Okay.
myself, and then submitting to at least my weekly workshop, but not publishing anywhere. Um, Felt good enough to try that, and honestly, probably didn't do so well that first round, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They gave me Ghost Story, which wasn't a genre I've done before.
Right?
So I hadn't really done horror, honestly. Um, but it's good to stretch and try new things, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'm signed up for Scary Story. I think that's a new one they're doing. Um, and I've been practicing that. Not so good, but I'm
What? You,
learning trial and error.
okay, you say not so good. Why do you say that?
Because when I present them in workshop, they fall flat,
Okay.
unanimously.
All right. Are you getting constructive feedback as what
Oh,
can make
yes.
it better? Okay.
Uh, my twists in those cases are too sudden. There's not
Okay.
enough foreshadowing. So working on layering that in better uh, has been constructive.
And
Um,
that is a huge challenge because again, these specifically the NYC Midnight contests have a word limit and you cannot go over them. And so
yeah,
sometimes the feedback you get is, well, I'd like a little more backstory here and a little more whatever here. And it's like, you can't do that in 250 words or whatever the constraint might be. So in some cases, I've taken the feedback and I've used it to enhance my stories and to make them better. And ultimately that's how I ended up publishing my two Dark Ebb books. Um, Many of the stories in my Dark Ebb Grim Tales are from those challenges. And I've taken the feedback and I've reworked my stories. So,
yeah, and my copy's in the mail. It's
oh,
on its
yeah.
way.
Which one? Volume one or volume two?
Volume one.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, there
Yeah,
there
you have a
are
few books back there.
there are three whole other shelves in this room that aren't in frame, and then the giant library stack. It's intimidating. What am I doing? Um, so yeah, yours is on the way. And I'm looking forward to, yeah, working on previous ones myself if after a long enough rest, so um, it looks new to me again, and I can with detachment polish it. Um,
That is an excellent tip also for writers out there. Back in the day when I first started publishing back in 2013, you were just a kid back then. Uh, I
uh,
would finish something and, sometimes you think rough draft equals final copy and oh, it really doesn't. And so with the novel that I'm doing my probably eighth edit on right now, I am so happy that after I finished it the first time, a
mhm,
few years ago, I got it out there. I had people read it. I had all kinds of feedback. I had time to really get to know my characters, like
right.
really get to know them. And um, taking suggestions, not all of them, but many of them, because when you put your stuff out there, that you're in a writing group, which is awesome, and I want to hear more about that. Um, Readers are the ones who determine whether your story is good or not, not you as an author,
Right.
right? I
Yes.
mean, once you put it out there, it's not yours anymore. It's the readers. And if there are things that they're tripping up over or, confused about or just don't like, then, you got to take that into consideration. You got to have a tough skin.
Especially in aggregate. That's how you really know that something's not working. If it's just one person, you can take that with a grain of salt. Um, and that's kind of a hard thing. You don't want to pander too much either.
Right.
The tightrope to walk.
It is. And ultimately, as the creator, as the artist, as the author, you make the final decisions, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's the good advice you just didn't take.
Yeah.
Like, I really wanted that last sentence, no matter what. And then,
My
oh, they were right.
Right, right. Actually, there are a couple of there's a last sentence in here that I wish in this first book that's coming out. In my let's see, I think it's the last one. Yes. Yeah. Her only vice. And again, I illustrated the chapter headings in these, but
Impressive.
I think I would have taken out my last sentence on that. Just so you know.
Yeah. And that's something that drives me mad. I just can't look at a thing for a long time afterward. So I know some people in the writing group. In fact, they're the ones who made me aware of NYC Midnight. Uh, that they'll do it over the weekend and they'll submit it and then they'll bring it in for the next session, which is usually Tuesdays. And I just can't do that. It'll drive me mad. Uh, if it's good feedback, it will give me a false sense of security, I feel
Okay.
like. And if it's bad feedback, then it's ripping
Why
out
did I
my
s-
hair and knowing it's in the judge's hands in that state. So I just can't look.
Yeah, okay. And again, your skin gets tougher, I think, as you go,
Yeah,
as you do more of them. Um,
absolutely. And then I mean, I'll happily take the judge's feedback. In fact, between round one and round two was an extremely useful nugget that I definitely applied to my second round story,
do,
starting as late as possible.
do you remember what it was? Or you might,
Yes,
yeah.
starting as late as possible.
Starting what
Uh,
late as
s-
late as possible.
the story, getting as close to the central
Oh,
action.
yeah.
Um, Sometimes there's a lot of, clearing the throat or setting the scene when the scene can just speak for itself in that negative
Ye-
space.
Yes, yes. You have no time to world build in flash fiction, specifically
Oh,
in flash fiction. Or
yeah,
or even in longer stories sometimes. I mean, it seems like now, and again, when I my first go round with this novel, I was basically told that my first chapter should be the one that I had as chapter three, because
really.
everything I had done in chapter one and two uh, wasn't as exciting, wasn't as active, and readers now I think want to jump right into the action,
Oh, yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
yeah,
That's how you
so
get into
that
page two.
yeah, right. So and again, readership has changed. Genres changed. Genres merge now. You used to have to know exactly what genre your novel was. Like it's going to be one thing, and now everything's more fluid.
Yeah, and mostly just so they know where to shelve it in the
Yeah,
bookstore, right?
right, right.
In in some ways, though, it's kind of always been like that I mean, with some they're clear cut, like Frankenstein, that's horror. Um, but with Turn of the Screw, for example, there are ghosts and there are elements of horror, but it's still literature, literature. So
Literary
hard,
fiction.
yeah, exactly. So there's always been that kind of boundary, that permeable boundary between. Um,
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Tell me why you first felt like you needed to write.
well, um, a lot of it was that high school English teacher that kind of showed me a path forward.
Okay.
Um, but it's also kind of that itch. I read a lot, and sometimes my brain feels full. So I'd always been writing scraps. As a teenager, getting all these big feelings out as poetry, heavily coded poetry, so that, you know, someone stumbles upon the book, they still don't know what they're reading. Um, and I guess that kind of led to fiction in a way, um, because these would be extended metaphors for feeling.
Yeah.
Um, the cookies just won't bake, for example. Um, so kind of that outlet, say, and kind of how um, my reading practice would inform my writing practice, back and forth, this feedback loop. One leads to enjoying the other more. I do like when I read getting at the nuts and bolts of why did this work for me? Why didn't this?
Yes. Yes.
Um, so it just kind of evolved. Being an English major gave me an excuse to read more literary fiction, when it's assigned to me. And then graduating gave me permission to read what I wanted to read, which was a hodgepodge of literary fiction, genre, admittedly comic books. I'm a huge Batman fan. In fact, on my bookshelf right over there, Shakespeare and Superman are right on top of each other.
Hmm.
Yeah, it gets a
There's
little
there's a
eclectic.
story.
Yeah, I mean,
Shakespeare
there's
and
literary
Superman.
merit. Um, I mean, there was kind of a sidebar. Michael Uslan was he's a film producer. His name is on all the Batman films, but he started as a comics professor. He was one of the first to teach a comic book course in university, and his pitch to the board to make this an actual thing was tell me the story of Moses.
Oh.
And, how did Moses start out? Well, his mother, they were getting rid of all the infants. His mother put him in a basket and sent him away to be safe somewhere else and to be raised by adoptive parents. And they said, okay, tell me the story of Superman.
Same
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they said, okay, you have your course.
Different basket. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Huh.
modern mythology is how I consider it. And it has a place on the shelf next to Shakespeare.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. So on your 7 hour, on your whole weekend drive when you were driving and you were supposed to be writing a story, um, did you have opportunity to think about your story, or were you engaged in
Yeah.
something else during driving?
A little bit of both.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
when you can get your mind to, safely focus on things, nothing but road in front of you. My poor wife sitting next to me is hearing me go, no, that doesn't work. Oh, yeah, okay. Like, you
So
were,
you were
you were,
bouncing ideas off her?
some of them, I
Okay.
would say, you know, what's a good name for someone who does this and this and this, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Um, you were talking about your process, how, you read your three prompts, right? And then you go
Yeah.
right to sleep.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I feel
I
like
mean,
that's
I
more,
mean, I can't sleep immediately. Like generally,
yeah,
there's noodling going on before I fall asleep, and then so it's in there.
that's more discipline than I have. Um, for me, I will at least take that first hour or two um, to free associate with those words.
Okay. Brainstorm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the just everything I can think of that has to do with it. So, for example, my first one was a comedy, and it had to involve throwing a shoe and um, a list, a wish list. That's what it was.
Okay.
So I latched onto shoe. I was like, think of everything that involves throwing a shoe. And of course, George Bush comes first to mind.
Right.
And then, like you said, no, not that. That came too easily.
Right. Yeah.
And in fact, everybody I mentioned it to, that was the first thing they thought of.
Yeah.
So then I think about shoes, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Um, one, two, buckle my shoe. Uh, and Cinderella came to mind.
Yeah.
And then even Googling like shoe, just what pops up. And I learned what a shoey is. Have you heard of that?
Shoey. No.
They call it doing a shoey, and it's in Australia, but it's disgusting. You you take your shoe off, you,
Okay.
you fill it with your beer, and you drink.
Oh, okay. All right. In the army, they do it with a boot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a thing you're familiar with.
That's
Okay.
yeah. The boot.
But
So how did you use that in your story?
yeah, you froze for a moment too. Are you
I'm still
able to
here.
see me?
I'm still
Okay.
here. I guess we're still recording. So yeah.
I was worried about that.
Yeah. Last thing we said
When
was
I,
the boot.
oh, really?
What's that all about?
So it left off at the boot. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so wow, that was a long freeze.
Yeah, that was a long freeze. That's okay.
I
That's all
I
right.
thought you were just a very attentive listener.
Yeah, I thought you were, but I am.
Oh yes, yes, of course. And so basically, then I realized that Cinderella's glass slipper is a much cleaner thing to drink out of, if she's not wearing it, of course. Um, and then I at least had elements of a maybe story. I didn't know
Okay.
where it would go,
All
but
right.
I kind of equate that. That's kind of becoming my process with these contests. I put all
Okay.
the ingredients in a mixing bowl, mix it, and leave the dough to rise overnight and see what pops up in the morning. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whatever works for you. And again, writers out there, authors out there, you know, or you should know that, we all do things differently.
Yeah.
And there's no one way of doing things. You talk about a shoe, and one of the stories that you'll get to read is called Taps, and
Oh,
there's a shoe in it.
I forget about tap shoes. Yeah.
Oh, that's one of my. Oh, I have some creepy stories. Sometimes after I finish a story and I share it with my husband, he looks at me and occasionally he asks, "Do I need to sleep in the other room tonight?"
Because you'll
Because,
tell him
well,
what.
no, because he's a little bit scared by what I've written.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't, yeah, he didn't know that about his generally optimistic and cheerful wife, that I have this dark side. I've got these really bizarre muses. And I mean, maybe it came up first when I wrote The Hair Raising Truth. So this is a novella, and it was a 3-day novel writing contest. It wasn't NYC Midnight, but I think it was from Canada, and
Wow.
a 3-day novel writing contest. And I just decided to do something, fun and different and light. And so the idea of picking up something and having it turn into like something magical. And actually, I got the motivation. I was walking with a friend, and there was this teeny little sword, teeny little plastic sword, and I picked it up, and I'm like, what if like this could become a real sword in the hands of the right person? Well, I started this 3-day contest with with one other friend. My husband left for the weekend. We stacked the place with food and beverages, and I told my friend, "You go
Mhm.
sit in that room. I'm going to sit in this room, and only if we bump in the kitchen can we say anything. Other than that, we're writing something big in 3 days." So my light, fun, magical story turned into something very dark, and it turned into The Hair Raising Truth, and this is one of my husband's favorites. And again, I was totally taken over by my muse that weekend. Maybe it was lack of sleep. Maybe it was lack of oxygen because I wrote it in Leadville. If you're familiar with Leadville,
Yeah.
Colorado, we lived there for 12 years, and yeah, I'm pretty sure my brain is a little bit changed because of those 12 years.
That's good though. You have to reach that sort of mind of no mind, that strange space, especially when you're going on less sleep. You that inner sensor kind of turns off, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I had a vague outline for what I think would happen in each chapter, and boy, it just went off the rails. And yeah, horny teenage boy finds a rabbit's foot and wants to get lucky with the new girl in school. So it's kind of like Twilight Zone meets Grimm's fairy tales. That's how I look at it. But I don't know what did you watch? What did you watch when you were younger that might have inspired you or might have inspired your creative muses?
That's a good question. Because all that comes to mind is what, cartoons? Um,
Cartoons.
I
And
mean,
cartoons can be pretty violent, right? I mean, they can
that's
be a
true.
little
I mean,
crazy.
a lot of Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of those sort of offbeat, absurdist humor things. But then, if we're talking about younger and not really I was thinking childhood years. Um, as I started to get older in my teenage and early 20s years, a lot of HBO television,
Okay.
The Sopranos, Six Feet Under, um, Deadwood, just a lot of long form
Yeah.
storytelling
Yeah.
that kind of opened
Dark.
my eyes to what's possible, what you can linger on, what kind of characterization you can do indirectly.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of amazing one-liners, that blow your mind apart. Um, I would say that was a big influence on what you could do. There were no limits to storytelling and how you could make the audience laugh 1 minute and then really think the next.
Yes. Yeah. Leave an impression, kind of like you're talking about. reading now, you're reading much more critically,
Mhm.
and again, once you start to write, I think it's only natural that you would start to pick up on uh, how did that just make me laugh out loud? How did that make me
Yeah.
cringe? How did that make me have nightmares?
Yeah.
Because writing should, yeah, do something, I think, physically, mentally to the reader.
Yeah. And kind of it's hard to translate how, I mean, hard to translate what's in your head to the page at first, and perhaps for a long time. But then after a while, people start to see, oh, that's how you think? It's a little crazy.
How do you translate a dream, right? I mean, my dreams are, technicolor and extraordinarily visual. And how do you put that? How do you make a screenplay basically out of it and then
Yeah.
embellish that screenplay? So yeah, no, you're right. You could have an idea, but an idea is something kind of ephemeral, and to, yeah, write the right words in the right order and all that stuff to
And
bring, because again, my dreams, I could wake up crying, I could wake up laughing, I could wake up in a sweat. How do I make the reader feel that way?
yes.
Still working on it.
And it's and it's kind of, a writing equivalent of, you wake up and tell somebody that dream and they're like, that's great. That's great. You want coffee or not? They're waiting for you to be done telling that story, which meant so much to you.
I
Uh,
know. My poor parents. Oh, every morning they'd come down, they'd roll their eyes.
but
But
some
then,
people, oh,
oh,
sorry.
I was gonna say that my Water White trilogy, my YA fantasy adventure trilogy, started with an insane dream I had, and I shared it with a friend, and she's like, "You have to do something with that." And I thought it was just gonna be one book, and then my characters weren't done with me at the end of book one, so I ended up with a trilogy with that. So don't say that you can't do anything with your dreams.
True. Oh, yes. I think one made it as a story. Um, there, for some reason, I had a grudge with a guy. I know nobody in real life who is like this person or has this name, but for some reason, Dream Logic, I really hated Matt Addison. I don't know. I don't know anyone with that name or face. I don't know what he did to me, but I was going to ruin him. And that sort of became a story, sitting in the desk drawer for now because it needs more of a plot grafted to it. But yeah, and there are people too who I can think of two off the top of my head who have the weirdest, most interesting dreams, who will tell them to you at length, and you're not a hostage. You're wondering what the heck is going on to so consistently have this weirdness going on.
Huh. So why is Matt Addison still in your desk? You say you needed more of a plot to go along with it. Are you more of a plotter than a pantser? I'm definitely more of a pantser, writing by the seat of my pants, letting my characters go where they want to go and tell me what they want to do, with generally an idea of how something might end, but not knowing how I'm going to get there. Sounds like you're more of a, oh, did you freeze again? I think you're a planner.
Um, that's a good question. I don't know what I am.
I'm a
Uh,
plantser, really. I mean, you got to have a little bit of a plan, but some people want to know exactly what's going to happen in every chapter before they sit down and write their book. They have to have,
Absolutely.
yeah, not me.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle as well.
Okay.
Sometimes an ending will just sort of surprise you and come out of nowhere and it clicks, and that's a wonderful moment.
Love that.
Yeah, you have a vague idea of where it's going to go, but you'll see how it unfolds. Uh, yeah, I tried 100% of each method and was not comfortable. Um, I'm finding too that with these NYC Midnight contests that there's that increased constraint, which I seem to thrive in best, as opposed to coming at it with my own idea.
No, I do
So,
too. I do too. Yeah.
yeah,
Give me a deadline. Give me a deadline.
yes, absolutely. The deadline and also what has to appear.
Right.
Um, so, for example, a piece I submitted this week was really a writing prompt from the 3 a.m. epiphany. I had to look on the shelf. Um, just the prompt was write an unreliable third person close narrator, and that turned into a suspense thriller horror story.
Nice.
Yeah, and horror is like brand new to me. Um, I
Okay.
don't I don't have a set genre. It's really just whatever serves a story.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was came out of nowhere. And I think when you're given an assignment or a prompt, that kind of frees up a lot of mental bandwidth. And I don't know, do you feel that same way?
No, I absolutely do. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all my years in the army. Tell me what I need to do and I'll do it.
I wonder if that has to do with like this sort of school mindset, you know, where the teacher gives you an assignment.
Maybe. Right. And again, yeah, if you have to come up with something yourself, the possibilities are endless,
Yes. And
right? So how do
there,
you narrow that down?
yeah, there are a million ways you could approach any, well, a million topics and a million ways you could write each topic. Uh, and then I just sort of freeze.
Yeah, almost like it's too much. Imposter syndrome. You
Um,
familiar with that? I
oh
I
yes.
seriously have it. I seriously have it. And there was a time, I think it was actually shortly after I started writing 2183. And again, it's a future sci-fi fantasy with an undersea metropolis and a military academy. But I sometimes would go into a library or a bookstore and feel totally overwhelmed and feel like, what do I have to say that hasn't already been said or that even matters? And sometimes feel discouraged. Um,
Absolutely.
I got over that, when you hear that there are only seven unique ideas in the world and everything's an offshoot of those seven ideas, whatever those seven, maybe it's not seven, maybe it's a different number, but there aren't that many unique ideas.
Mhm.
But then you do realize that you are a unique person and you
Right.
speak and you think and you live differently from every other person on the planet. So, we all, I grew up in a family with four other sisters, five of us girls, and we each remember the same thing in different ways, different.
Right.
So I got over yeah, I still kind of feel like, the imposter syndrome sometimes, but I realize now that I'm 66 and I'm not out there writing to get famous or writing to make a buttload of money because I know I won't, but I'm writing because I have to. I have these ideas and these things and these dreams that I'm having that I just want to share. And if one person reads what I write and they like it and it inspires them, well, then I feel like I've done something good. So that's where I am right now in my process.
Exactly.
You're much younger and you know probably have bigger dreams.
No, so all through my 20s, I mean, my teenage years and my 20s, it was about, writing the next great American novel. That sort of expectations too high pressure. Um, Now it's just scratching an itch. It's um, I have to create or I'll go mad. And I know because I'd say from 2020 to
Hmm.
2024 was a barren period. There was kind of a
COVID.
lot going on.
Oh yeah, the start of COVID and feeling trapped.
And then I was full on stay-at-home dad. Now
Yeah.
the kids are in school, so that frees me up a little. And I was a new homeowner at the time too. And I'm sure you can relate that when you're starting out, there's a giant pile of things to fix. And so all of that
Forever. Yeah.
pressure, yeah, and having just been rejected in 2019 several times would gives so much excuse to not do this thing. But I was also kind of going mad. by not having that outlet.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of getting back to that really helped. It became a necessity, kind of, cheaper than therapy, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think those
Yes.
morning pages are. Before I forget, so you talk about your children, yeah, young kids, and you talk about the idea of creativity being really discouraged in traditional education.
Mhm. Absolutely.
What are you doing with your children to make sure that doesn't happen with them?
Well, it's a great question. I think a lot about a quote about Bob Ross, the painter and PBS, uh, him being known more for not creating great art so much as creating artists, like that being his legacy. Um, and I'm trying to do that. Obviously, I don't want them to, become writers. They will have their own journey, whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I am giving them as much as I can in terms of loving reading, because I always view that as a skeleton key to all knowledge. Um, I feel like, and I'm kind of tooting my horn a little, that I read so widely that I can carry a conversation with a doctor and a lawyer and an economist, not too far, just a mile wide and inch deep, but it at least like gives an access point to all those things, which could also be inspirations for writing too. If you want to write from a lifestyle completely outside your own, you at least have some of that knowledge by reading widely. So I at least want to give the kids that and try and instill that curiosity too, so that that would better equip them for whatever they want to do.
Reading widely and
Oh,
wildly,
wildly, yeah.
in and not just one genre.
Mhm.
Some people are like, "Oh, I only read this." Well,
Yeah,
what are you missing? What you're. I think our brains need challenge. I mean, I'm all about challenges.
absolutely. Yeah,
And yeah, reading stuff that you wouldn't normally pick up. Um, yeah, it sparks different synapses in your brain, and I think it helps you to be, more fluent in different things. As you said, be able to talk to more people about, you know, different things. Be able to do that mini crossword in 30
right.
seconds in the morning.
Absolutely. And I'm actually in two writing groups, and the other one is more of a, I'm sure you've heard of Shut Up and Write, that program. You
I
have.
actually have not. Shut up and write. Right.
Yeah,
I'm writing it down.
it's got chapters, to my understanding, I'm new to this, and
Okay.
chapters all over the country. There are quite a few in Colorado alone, but a group of people get together, they say who they are and what they're working on, they go around, and then a timer's set, and you all write quietly together for 1 hour. And then when the hour's up, you say how it went, if you met your goal for the day, or not, and what obstacles or what things you're proud of. And then sometimes people linger and chat about craft and what they're working on overall. Um, anyway, at the most recent one, someone was saying, I write fantasy, so I'm reading is all the fantasy and only fantasy. And I was telling them, actually, I've read sci-fi that has borrowed heavily from detective stories, and that made it more engaging. You want that cross-pollination, I should say. And um, in fact, it was Alan Moore uh, who would say the best inspiration for writing was reading bad books, and because it would be encouraging. Like if this person got published, then I might stand a chance.
I like that. So there's the shut up and write. It's accountability, right?
Yeah, exactly. And still, you're not critiquing each other's work. Um, it's kind of a more forgiving atmosphere for beginners, especially. There's no pressure, no fear of critique that'll shut you down.
Yeah. No,
So
I think
yeah.
that's great. Yeah, I'm in Central Colorado Writers group, and we have a critique group as well, and we do things called we writes, where
Oh
basically
yeah.
someone's in charge, and it's prompt driven. You have a couple hours. You given prompts, you share what you've written, and again, it's writing without editing. It's just write, 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 write. Like, have you done National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo, which is coming up in November?
I tried it once 10 years ago, actually. I and I think that was more during my let's pants entirely and see how
Yeah,
that goes. So I petered out, I'd say about 8 days in. I do want to try it. With children though, I only just got into flash fiction a couple months ago, so
right,
it's
right. Yeah, having
still a way.
to, yeah, putting a goal of writing 50,000 words in 30 days when you have kids at home, definitely challenging. But the idea of it is kind of like you're talking about in the shut up and write, where you just write, write, write. You don't edit, you don't go back, you don't cross off. You just get stuff on the page, get stuff out of your head. Because
Yeah,
our creative people's heads get heavy sometimes. That's why I have neck problems.
absolutely. And wearing too many hats also
Yeah.
can make the head heavy.
Yes. Tony, I, I I feel like I could talk with you all day, and I think we need to do this
Likewise.
again.
Sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
I would like to hear some of your work, and so sometime later, I don't know, maybe after the holidays or whatever, after I get my book published, I would like to talk with you again, and let's get Austin on too. Let's get him to
Yeah.
give me a call and have a conversation with me. I love what we just talked about today. I think what
Same.
you have added a lot of value, and what you're talking about. I think a lot of people are in your shoes, wondering how to start, how to get stuff out of your head. What do you do? Um, I'm completely self-published. I tried the agent thing a long time ago and found I was dealing far more in trying to do that than in actually creating anything myself. So
Yeah.
I find self-publishing to be so easy, and as I said, I'm not looking to make it big. So it's something that you can do. People out there, if you like, Tony, what about your poetry collection? You could probably publish that, this weekend if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, but I think we have a lot to talk about. Do you have any further things you might want to throw out there to our listeners as a stranger I just met and just had a conversation with me, and it was fun. And like I said, I don't want to end this, but we're going on an hour now.
Oh, of course. Um, yeah, I feel like we could go for another few hours.
I think so.
You have so many entertaining insights. The only thing I try to encourage people stick with it. There are so many people I've seen show up to our workshops. It's their first time. They have a novel, they have a short story they want to get out there. It's their first time exposing themselves to critique. And understandably, it's their first big thing. And critique hits them harder than they think it will. It hit me hard for years. Uh, Even if you think you're done, keep at it because the great boxing trainer Cus D'Amato, who worked with Muhammad Ali and Tyson, he would say, "A loser is a winner who quits. If you
Ah,
fail, if you fail, um, you still win as long as you don't quit."
yeah, yeah. That's an awesome note to end on. Tony, thank you. Listeners out there, like and hit that like and subscribe, and if you like what you heard today, maybe buy me a treat. Hit that buy me a coffee button, because even though I don't want to get rich, you know, things cost money.
We all need something.
Tony, I want to have another conversation with you. So let's please stay in touch, and um,
Definitely.
Yeah, listeners out there, be ready to read Tony's stuff when he finally publishes it because I think something might be coming soon.
I'm hoping so. I'm putting so many irons in the fire now. I'm determined.
All right, I'm excited for you and I wish you the best of luck. Stick around after I end and I'm going to chat with you a little bit more. But listeners out there, thanks for visiting and come back when I will have another fascinating guest for you. But
Thanks for having me.
keep being awesome. Bye.
Bye.